Hello and welcome to Knitting on the Lake. My name is Kelly and I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am debuting on my podcast this microphone. I hope that it helps a little bit with the audio. The place where I film has pretty good acoustics, has some carpet underneath me, and a lot of things absorbing sound, apparently some upholstery, but I recently filmed a special podcast episode with my friend Erica Field, and we used these microphones, and I think it really helped a lot. So I see no reason to not use it going forward. So hopefully it's an improvement. It's still a little bit low tech around here, but we try. So there are a few new subscribers around here. So to those who are new, welcome. I am so glad you are here. If you found me through Erica, through the Knit Kind podcast, or her design business, Grapefruit and Gardenia Designs, I am so glad you're here. And I'm not probably going to be talking a lot about what our kind of joint initiative is, because I want to leave a lot of that information and content for those conversations, which we're hoping will happen maybe roughly once a month. I know we have a date set in really thick pencil sometime in December, and so we look forward to continuing that conversation. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, allow me to explain. At the recent Rhinebeck Festival, so New York Sheep and Wool, we signed a pledge to make our Rhinebeck sweaters with local yarn. And so we wanted to kind of start that journey and that conversation with one another sooner rather than later, and start to look at the yarns that we have available in our own stash, our respective stashes, and some potential projects that we might want to do with them. The idea of maybe making Rhinebeck sweaters throughout the year, making sweaters with local yarn throughout the year. And I know I'm going to learn a lot about sheep breeds and different farm yarns that Erica is very familiar with and has been very focused on for a while now. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and right now we are hosting all of those episodes on Erica's channel. So again, it is Knit Kind, and I will provide a link in the show notes. I will also be putting all of those episodes into a special playlist on my channel, so you can always find the back episodes of those there. For now, at this time of filming, there's only one episode, but if you missed it, I would suggest checking that out. And I know a lot of people found it helpful and interesting. We included a lot of resources for local yarns, as well as patterns that we thought would be really suitable for working with those yarns, in a lot of which were some local designers that we really wanted to feature. All right, so all of that said, I wanted to talk today about kind of a standard podcast format, and I don't really know what standard is because I don't think I have a standard, but it's been a while since I shared works in progress, finished objects, and talked about projects that I'm going to be starting up, namely some holiday knitting plans is what I have kind of on my plate at the moment. And I am going to take a little bit of a risk and share something that that I don't want someone to know about, but I'm going to kind of bet that he's not going to watch this. And I could be dead wrong, but I want to share it. So I'm just going to go ahead and share it. Before I begin, please let me explain what I'm wearing. This is the Potato Vodka cardigan, and the pattern is by Thea Colman, and she's also known as Baby Cocktails. And I did this as a test knit for Thea I think it was right around a year ago. It was kind of going on around the holidays last year. And I realized, so today I'm actually going to see Wicked with my family. We went to the last one in the theater together and we had such a good time that we wanted to go and do that again as a family. So I realized I have a good sweater for Wicked because it features this color changing yarn from Spincycle. It is the dyed in the wool. Colorway is, I believe, golly, I don't remember. I'll put it on the screen and I will of course put it on the show notes. What I had in my head I know is definitely not the right color, but it is kind of shifting from pink to green and back again. There's a little bit of purple in there, which is hard to spot because of the gray background color, but this is a slip stitch color work pattern. It was really fun to make. I used some vintage buttons on it that were from my grandmother's stash. They're not particularly well affixed to the button band, but someday maybe I will fix them. But for now, they're a little bit floppy, but I really like the way that they look on this sweater. All right, I'd like to start with a couple of finished objects, and I don't have too much to show. My big recent finished objects were my Rhinebeck sweaters, which I shared in the last video, which was my Rhinebeck recap. And if you didn't see that, you might also want to go, step back in the list of videos and check that out. And it was sort of my perspective and my take on it. So if you're interested, you can check that out. So the first finished object that I have to share is my test knit for Tori Yu, which was the Cityscape Hat. And I chose to knit the youth size of the Cityscape Hat. My original thought was that I would knit it for my son, who is 11 years old. I did swatch this. I was using stash yarn. And I realized after I swatched that this yarn was really not going to behave for me in this 2x2 ribbing. And I knew that, like, basically the yarn it's very elastic. It's a discontinued yarn. It's called Berroco Fika. It is 100% superwash merino wool. It's nothing unusual, but for whatever reason, this particular iteration, or the way that it is spun, the yarn is like almost like a rubber band. So any type of ribbing that you create with this yarn just really, really cinches in on itself. And so since I had planned to use this yarn, and it is a nice looking yarn, I just decided to go ahead and make the hat and know that it was probably going to be a much smaller size than the intended size for a youth size hat. So I did make this adorable little hat, which I think is a perfect little baby hat. And I do plan to give it away as a gift for special baby, but you can see this hat is a combination of, this beautiful, simple cabled brim and 2x2 ribbing with some really nice decreases. I think it's like a really sophisticated, again, simple pattern. I think it would be great for someone who wanted to try cables for the first time because it's not a lot of cabling. And I do think this pattern works really well with a speckled, like a lightly speckled yarn, which is what this is. And so I think it looks super cute. But, like, do as I say, not as I do when it comes to making stuff. Like I said, I did swatch. I knew my swatch was problematic, but I kind of went forward anyway and forged ahead. And, sometimes we just have to do that. And I did sort of know what was going to happen at least, so I didn't go into it completely blind. So anyway, this is my finished Cityscape hat. I'm fairly certain I'll be making more of these, both as gifts and for myself. It uses a DK weight yarn, so it's a really good use for leftover yarns, and it would work with like a variety of yarns. You know, you could hold together a fingering weight and like a silk mohair. That would be really a nice way to do this as well. While I was testing this hat, I also got another test opportunity for a related object, which is the Cityscape fingerless mitts, or I think they're just called Cityscape Mitts. Again, the pattern is by Tori Yu, and these just came out like a week ago, I think. So it's, you know, really the similar, like kind of the similar pattern. There's just one single cable column, and the rest of it is 2x2 ribbing. And then you can see the inside of the hand. I'll put it on so you can see how the gusset increases work. So it kind of creates the thumb here, and then the hand here, and you separate. And then once you separate, you're pretty much almost done. You just have like a few more rows on the hand and a few more rounds, I should say, on the hand, and a few more rounds on the thumb. And they're super cozy. This is a yarn that I picked up at Indie Untangled. It was a special show colorway. The yarn is from the Red Pansy, and it's their like Superwash DK. I can't quite remember the exact name, but I remember the colorway name, which is Cozy Rainy Morning. And, you know, it has this like kind of light minty pistachio green. I thought I brought it up with me, the leftover yarn, but I don't think I have it nearby. But I really like the way that they turned out. And in addition to these two pieces of, you know, which don't go together, obviously, Tori had previously designed a cowl. And the cowl has this cabling motif with the ribbing and the cables alternating all over the cowl. I think it's like a bandana style cowl. And, you know, you could make a whole set, or you could just make things separately. So I think that they're really nice kind of go-to patterns, and really, really simple, well-written. And then I wanted to test these because I didn't have any hand knit mittens to speak of anymore. I might have mentioned that on a previous podcast. So very happy to have these. They knit up super fast. All right, now we're going to get into some works in progress. And this is a little bit of a mix of things that I have kind of simmering on the back burner a little bit, because I have definitely shifted gears into holiday knitting mode. There is a little bit of crossover between the back burner and the front burner, as you will see. And so let me start with a project that I picked up kind of out of the blue right after Rhinebeck. It is the project that I should have brought to Rhinebeck to knit on, but I didn't. And then, having regretted that decision, I proceeded to knit like crazy on it for about a week. And anyway, this is my vest number 7. The pattern is from My Favorite Things Knitwear, and I will figure out a way to show it to you. It's just a simple like cardigan style vest. So it's knit flat, top down, which is why my needles are at the bottom here. And these are the armholes, and it will have a button band picked up. That's why everything's curling in right now. And there will be buttonholes on one side and buttons on the other. I decided a while back that I really wanted to make a cardigan with buttons. I thought it was a nice look. This is a super simple pattern. It's just knit and stockinette. It's a DK weight with 2 yarns held together. This is Knitting for Olive what is it called? I think it's Merino. Yeah, it's Knitting for Olive Merino, which is fingering weight, and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, and the colorway for both yarns is Clover. They pretty much match exactly. And, you know, I mean, I would call this Kelly green, which has always been a favorite color. And I had my little progress keeper that I got at Rhinebeck, Amy Scher, which is so cute. Maybe I can actually get you to see it. It's a little, I don't know. It's either like a bowl of miso soup or a cup of tea. I mean, you can decide what you prefer. And I don't know why it won't focus, but trust me, it's very cute. Anyway, I got to the end of the body when the ribbing is supposed to start, and I kind of slammed on the brakes because, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that this would be nice to have for the holidays, and I do plan to finish it before the holidays. I probably need a good maybe 2 or 3 days to get to the finish line on this. But I wanted to prioritize things that I'm giving as gifts, and I'll explain why that is as I show them to you. All right, so here is my next work in progress, and this one is a secret that, again, I kind of think that it's safe to share here because I don't think the recipient watches my podcast. And if he does, I will be really impressed. So if you are watching, husband, feel free to let me know that you saw this. And but if you know him and you are not him, don't tell him. That would be great. This is not a test, but you know, it was just too good not to share. So anyway, if I'm spoiling the surprise, so be it. I've actually been knitting it in front of him in plain sight the entire time, just assuming that he wouldn't realize that it was for him. So anyway, and this is a little bit rumpled because it's been sitting in my project bag, but this is the single malt sweater, and the pattern is by Maxim Cyr. And I think he's also known as Max the Knitter on Instagram. And this is a raglan pullover. I finished the body. It looks a little bit wacky right now because it's unblocked and it's like a textured stitch. This is what I believe would be called a broken seed stitch textured stitch. It is moving along pretty well, I think. I am on the sleeve. I haven't knit on it for maybe a week, maybe longer, because of other things going on. But again, in this case, I think I need maybe 2 or 3 more days to finish this, get it blocking, and then it'll be good to go. I know this will be done well in advance of Christmas, so I'm not stressing out about this. Let me tell you about the yarn that I am using for this because I think that's my favorite part. It is called, it's Cumbria by the Fiber Company, and oh gosh, I'm so bad at remembering colorways, but I think it's called Fair Hill or Fair something. I don't know. But maybe you can see the variation in this. So like it reads as a brown, but it has like these bits of green and red. And, you know, I mean, I guess it could be like a gray too, but I just like that it's a neutral with some complexity. And it looks really stunning knit up in this textured stitch, and it's super soft. The blend is really interesting, and I think it's a blend of Merino, Maxim wool, and a little bit of Mohair. which you can kind of see, that it has a little bit of a halo effect. I'm sure that's coming from the mohair, but lovely, lovely yarn. I'm loving the pattern. It's very well written, very clear. I've never knit anything from Maxim Cyr before, but I definitely would again. And something that I have said about this sweater to myself and to my friends is that if my husband does not like or appreciate it, I will be more than happy to take the return and keep it for myself, because it's interesting, because of the amount of positive ease, or the amount of intended ease, this sweater will totally fit me. It will fit me differently than it would fit him. But I mean, I think it's going to fit him really well. Here's a trick you can use if you're giving a gift and you don't want them to know, and you don't want to like walk up with your measuring tape and kind of give away the surprise. Don't podcast about it, obviously, if you don't want to give away the surprise. But here's another tip. In his closet, I found a kind of a similar looking, what I believed to be similar fitting type of sweater. It was kind of one of those like waffle weave, somewhere between like a shirt and a sweater. And I just spread it out on the bed, and I measured all the dimensions that are in the schematic that is provided in the pattern. And, the chest circumference and from the underarm to the bottom hem, and, everything really checked out and corresponded to a particular size, which was the 44-inch chest circumference. So I went ahead and made that size. And so I feel pretty good, pretty confident that's going to fit him. I don't know if he'll like it. I mean, I think he will like it. After all these years, I hope I have some idea what he likes. So I've been with him since we were 19 years old, which was quite a long time ago. So anyway, this is the single malt sweater, and it will be done sometime soon. After I pick it up, like I said, I need a few more days to kind of wrap it up, but I had to pull another project ahead of that. So this got pulled ahead of the vest, then another project got pulled ahead of this sweater, and then once that project, which I'm about to show you, is done, then I have to pull forward another project to make sure that that gets done. Because this is something I feel like I know exactly pretty close. I know how much time it's going to take. Another one that needs to get done, I don't really know exactly how much time it's going to take. So this is kind of how I play these games, and try to budget my time to make sure that I can get everything done that I plan to. Okay, now we are getting into some serious nostalgia here, so just buckle up, be prepared, because what I'm about to show you is gonna potentially take you back into some deep core memories. I am talking about Christmas stockings. So if you've been watching for a while, and for a while, I mean maybe since the first or second episode, I talked a little bit about my grandmother and her prolific knitting. One of the things that she knit for the entire family were Christmas stockings. And this would have been done probably in the course of the early 80s. So between 1980 and 1987, when all of my sister and my cousins were being born. I was born in the late 70s, so I don't think that I necessarily got my stocking at birth, but we all had coordinating stockings from the same pattern, which was the Mary Maxim Christmas stocking kind of base pattern. And they were in many, many different motifs. Some little design variations, but at the end of the day, when you worked from that pattern, you got something like this. So this was the stocking that my grandmother made for me when I was a very, very little girl. And I now have it, and it's very special to me, and I bring it out every Christmas. And it's enormous. Like, it definitely, now that I have seen the pattern, and I'll show you what I have. Now that I've seen the pattern, I know that she definitely went way off gauge and knit this like way bigger than what the pattern calls for. And, you know, I guess we just were lucky kids. We had a lot of stuff in our stockings. So it's one-sided. These are knit flat and then seamed up. And like I said, each one has its own special motif on it. And then they give you like the letters of the alphabet that you can put, you know, names or initials or whatever you want on these little bands at the top. So this is what I had from childhood. At some point when I first learned how to knit, like in the early 2000s, I decided I wanted to make my husband a Christmas stocking, but I didn't know how to find this Mary Maxim pattern. Now remember, this is the early 2000s. Like, there was no Ravelry, there's no like archive of knitting patterns available on the internet, at least not that I knew of. So I didn't knit him a Mary Maxim one to match mine. I found this free pattern from Lion Brand, and instead of knitting the tree in intarsia, I just duplicate stitched it, not very well, as you can see. But again, this is from some of my early knitting experience, and hey, I think I did a pretty good job because I actually knit this in the round and I turned the heel and everything. So probably this was my first sock that I ever made. And you know, it came out well. And I'm pretty sure I knit it in Lion Brand yarn as well. But everything, all the color work is duplicate stitched. I mean, you would definitely duplicate stitch these little snowflakes anyway, and the name. But this could have been done in intarsia without too much brain damage. But anyway, you know, we kind of were a little mismatched here. But I have a plan for my family. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But first I want to talk about this Mary Maxim pattern, because I asked my sister last year if she had any interest in having Christmas stockings for her family, because she had a baby who is, I don't know, like 18 months old now. And they have a dog, and they have a new home. And so I thought it would be nice to kind of give like a combination housewarming gift and Christmas gift of Christmas stockings. So I went back and forth with her quite a lot on patterns. We eventually came back to this vintage, you know, tried and true Mary Maxim Christmas stocking pattern. But she felt really strongly that she didn't want to have this sort of like saturated, traditional, bold, in your face color palette. She wanted it to look festive and holiday, but maybe a little more muted than this. This doesn't get any more bold and traditional than this. And of course, these are acrylic yarns. Like, I don't know, I mean, this is probably like Red Heart, like Pound of Love or something like that, if I had to guess. But I mean, it's still going strong after probably like 45 years of use. So, you know, I have no complaints, and, you know, I think she made a good choice. So thankfully now it's a little bit easier to find these patterns. Along the way, I think when my older son was born, I found online, probably on eBay, I would guess, a place to buy this original stocking patterns, these booklets. I think they were reprints because they're dated 2004, but they have several different motifs in each booklet, as you can see, and each one comes with its own chart. I think they have like directions for all and then like a unique chart for each. And you can see the OG, oops, I'm dropping them all. There's like the OG Santa and Mrs. Claus that a lot of people in my family have. And yeah, I got Santa even though I'm a female. I don't think we had any I don't remember if anyone had Mrs. Claus in my family, but anyway. And then I also found online on the Mary Maxim website one for a dog. So last year I got going on some Christmas stockings for my sister and her family. And I got pretty far along. I'll show you like exactly how far. I didn't weave in any ends, so excuse any like straggling yarns, and I didn't block anything either. So, and nothing that would be done in duplicate stitch is done either. So this is the dog. This is the dog's Christmas stocking. Their dog is a bulldog, an English bulldog named Stanley. So this is his Christmas stocking. And Stanley's little brother, my nephew, is going to receive this one. And now Santa looks a little bit weird without anything on his face. And, you know, but that'll change. I actually threw in a strand of mohair in here so that his hair and his beard were like just a little bit fuzzy. I thought it was kind of cute. By the way, these yarns are from, oh goodness, from Quince and Co. The yarn is called Lark, and some of them are technically called not quite Lark. I don't know what happened in the manufacturing process of this yarn, but apparently it didn't quite meet the standard of the original Lark. So now it is not quite Lark, but not quite, just works fine for me for this purpose, for Christmas stockings. So anyway, these two stockings will kind of hang next to each other on the mantle, pointing in one direction. And then I made one for my brother-in-law. This is going to be a gingerbread man, obviously, once I get a chance to decorate him a little bit. And his name will go here. And his toe is pointing the other way. And then I started knitting my sister's, which is a Christmas tree motif, which I will show you the pattern. Which one is it? Oh, goodness. Okay. This is the Christmas tree that she wanted, of course, with different colors. And I told her I'll probably take some liberties with the decoration of the Christmas tree and the gifts that are under the tree. And that she's going to have to trust me a little bit with that. But we ran into a little bit of an issue last year, a little bit of a misunderstanding with the way that the colors would be in this stocking and how they would all kind of work together as a family of stockings. So admittedly, I got a little frustrated, but we kind of came to a grinding halt shortly before Christmas. And anyway, I really wanted to complete this project. I want her and her family to have these stockings. And so we had a conversation in October, I believe it was, to just come to an agreement on what colors were going to be where. And so now I am back on track with this work in progress, which is her stocking. So it's going to be like this. The tree will be decorated. Her name will be on it. The tree is indeed an intarsia. And I wanted to share a little bit of a tip about intarsia knitting, which I do not do much of, but I learned a really great way of joining and like twisting your yarns to make sure that you have like a smooth join from, a color change. So you don't have like gaps or, places where your stitches are too tight or too loose. So Carol Chan from Casey Knitting Co. has some great video tutorials about how to kind of do this these basic actions in intarsia. And I thought they were super helpful. When I watched them, I sort of thought like, oh, I can, I'm doing this fine. It's fine. But then when I tried her method, it really, it made it so much smoother and cleaner. So I will link to that in the show notes as well. So all of these stockings I am planning to give to my sister next week at Thanksgiving. Actually, I'm going to see her right after Thanksgiving. So my goal is actually to finish them over this weekend. And that way I just have them complete and don't have to worry about them anymore. I am happy that she will have these on her mantle, and I hope that they give her a little bit of like that nostalgic feeling that, we had growing up and, having these Mary Maxim Christmas stockings, but, kind of done in a way that is more her and it's more suitable to her home's decor as well. In addition to making Christmas stockings for my sister and her family, I also am planning to make stockings for my own family because, again, we have these like mismatched stockings. The stockings we have used are not even those knit ones because I don't have any for my kids. They're not even hand knit. So at this point, it seems kind of silly not to have hand knit Christmas stockings. And after having gone through the process of knitting these for my sister, I feel like I'm kind of done with the Mary Maxim pattern for now. I don't know how my grandma knit like 20 of them, but like I'm good. I'm good with that. And I set out to find another stocking pattern, and there's not a lot. I mean, there are options, but it's just kind of a big sock. So I guess you can apply your flair of, what you want. But I really got excited about the holiday Doodle stocking from Pacific Knit Co. And so Jamie Lomax is the brains behind this operation. I'm sure if you're a knitter, you're probably familiar with Jamie. She creates these charts for modular use. So there's not just a stocking pattern, there's a hat, a cowl, a sweater, a cup cozy, a headband, a scarf. There's all sorts of patterns that she has created with the correct multiple of stitches so that you can apply her charts. Let me just show you these are some really, really simple ones that are more for accents and in between the main motifs. But basically any of these can be used in any of her patterns. And of course you could create your own pattern. You could draft your own and use these charts too. But I like this system a lot because it allows you to be super creative and super customized without having to start from scratch. It gives you these building blocks to play with, to be really creative, really thoughtful. On the other hand, it gives you so many choices that I feel just a little bit overwhelmed. So I think what I have done is I have just acquired too many of these charts. I joined their Doodle of the Month club. And so every month I get, I don't know, like 10 or 12 like new motifs, and they're all on a theme. Like there was like a beach or like an office theme, a farm theme. You know, there's themes galore, and you can find them all on Ravelry, I think, at this point. Actually, I don't know if the Doodle of the Month is on Ravelry, but all of the base patterns and most of the charts are on Ravelry. And she also has like kind of the analog version of these in decks, but I chose to get everything digitally. So I have everything in a PDF. So I have, I don't know, maybe like 15 or 20 of these themes of many different kinds of charts. So several of them are holiday themed. Some of them came with this pattern. I have some from the book that I bought. I bought her Doodle Knit Directory book, which is an excellent place to start with this system. And from all of those PDFs, I made a list for each of my family members, which motifs I wanted to include for them. So my plan is to create 4 unique Christmas stockings, one for each member of my family. And I don't want them to all be the same. I am planning to use maybe the foot and like the very, very top can all be the same on them, you know, like the top and the bottom. But in the middle, I want it to be reflective of like who they are, what they're interested in, you know, what they like to do. So like for my younger son, he plays soccer and he's a goalie, and there's actually a goal, like a net motif. There's a soccer ball, of course. And so I can use that. My older son, he's really into gaming, and they have in the office theme, there's a computer. So I can include that. And there's just so many possibilities. So what I did is I printed out specific pages from those PDFs with the charts, and I just started cutting them out. And I have all of these charts, and the nice thing is they provide them with sort of like the dark or like the contrast color as the background or as the motif, as the foreground. So you can choose which one and you can follow that chart, and it just makes it a lot easier, especially when you're working with many different charts. It makes it easier to remember, you know, which yarn to use in your stranded color work. So anyway, I have this big stack of motifs, and what I have to do, see, there's some mountains, and a skier because we ski. Okay, I apologize for a change in lighting or general appearance. I had a little bit of a technical issue. I thought I lost like 45 minutes of recording. Turns out I did not lose it, but my phone storage is in like full crisis mode. So I tried doing a little bit of cleanup, and hopefully it will allow me to at least record the remainder of this video and get through it. Thankfully, I didn't have to record the whole thing all over again, but I thought I did. So I started recording it again and the same thing happened, and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I think what I was saying was that my biggest task right now is trying to do the maths to figure out how to make all these stockings the same size while making them each completely unique. So I know I'm gonna have to accomplish that through some of these like filler kind of motifs, and they have ones that are taller, ones that are shorter, and you know, it's gonna take a little bit of planning and effort, but I think honestly, like I'll be like taping these laying them out on a table and taping them together, and then that will become my chart for each Christmas stocking. In terms of yarn for these Christmas stockings, I only have sort of a partial plan. I do have, it uses DK weight yarn, and so I have a lot of stash yarns that I can use, including stuff like this, which I thought would really be fun for like Christmas lights, where it's gonna change color kind of randomly. And fun fact, this colorway, so this is a Critical Hit dyes yarn from the ladies who do the podcast Pardon My Stash, which is on hiatus right now, which is kind of sad because I really enjoyed listening to that podcast. But anyway, this is called Amen. I bought this yarn specifically because it's the name of my son. But it's a really fun rainbow colorway. Anyway, that aside, I have this nice green. This is some leftover Spun Right Round. The colorway is Envy, and I think it's going to be a wonderful contrast color green. I think I do want to take the approach of having like the off-white background of the stocking. And then I like, see how this version is like more, with the contrasting color as the motif, and this one has the contrasting color as the background. I'm not sure that I'm going to go one way or the other. I think I'm going to take each chart one at a time and see what I think it wants to be. But the fact of the matter is I'm going to need quite a bit of this background, like off-white kind of yarn, and I don't believe that I have enough of that right now. So the yardage estimates are really kind of a crapshoot with something like this, because they don't know what charts you're using and whatnot. So there's two different sizes. I'm going to make the biggest option, and it's saying for the large size that for this more white sample, they used 366 yards of the white, which kind of seems like a lot, but I think I need to kind of plan on around maybe 350 yards of that off-white color per stocking. So that means I need 1,400 yards of that, whatever that yarn is. So I need to figure that out pretty quickly. In terms of the contrast colors, there are a couple of colors that I don't think that I have that I might need to go out and buy. But primarily, I'm planning to use an Advent that I got also from Spun Right Round, from that dyer who's based in Rochester, New York, which is near where I am from. And she is a genius yarn dyer. If you're not familiar with her, I definitely recommend checking her out. She's also just a brilliant artist and super, super talented. So I decided this year I was going to try an Advent. And if I was going to get an Advent, that it would be from that dyer specifically, because I just really like, I really, really like her work. So I don't know what the etiquette is on sharing Advents. So consider this fair warning and a spoiler alert that I'm about to show you the entire Advent. I will put up on the screen before I show you some pictures of what the box looked like and what the presentation was, because it was really cute. It had, 21 or 24 mini skeins all wrapped up individually. I got the DK weight. I wasn't originally planning to use these mini skeins for the Christmas stockings, but it kind of seems like a no-brainer, and it's kind of in the right quantities. So I don't believe I'm going to be able to use all of these colors in the stockings. Like, I just don't think hot pink is going to be really popular with, my house full of boys, for example. So I think some of these are, and the ones that are more white or off-white are very light in color that don't have enough contrast. I'm going to end up using those for something else. And maybe those become a contrast color for something that has a dark background, or, you know, maybe for some DK weight socks or something like that. So I don't know. That's going to be another conversation for another time. But again, I'm about to show you that I hand wound each mini skein, and this is the result. Aren't they so pretty? So I tried to keep them in roughly in order. You know, they were presented in this kind of gradient manner. And so, you know, some of these I think will be very useful. These, like this section here, this section here, and then these golds also. This one's kind of fun with like the little bits of color in there. But like I said, this isn't going to be particularly useful for the Christmas stockings. These lighter colors, you know, these are going to be best suited for another purpose, but they're really, really lovely colorways. I think this one's really fun too. And clearly, if you wanted an advent, and this is not available for purchase anymore this year, but there's many projects that you can just, you know, make with using exclusively these yarns. I just decided that I have a need for the stockings, and I need yarn, and I need a variety of different colors. So I'm going to start there. I've got to get the background color and a couple other colorways, like a red. I need to get like I need to have like this much at least of the, you know, equivalent of red. So in terms of timing, my realistic plan for this Christmas is to finish the stockings for my two sons. And I plan to do my husband's and my stocking next year. I just think that's realistic. I could probably knock out all four if I wanted to like do nothing else for the rest of the year, but I would like to work on some other things. I don't want the knitting to become too much of a grind. We do have other stockings we can use. You know, we have the ones that I showed you earlier. We also have these other ones that I think I mentioned that I had ordered. That is what we actually put the stocking stuffers into that are not handmade. So anyway, that is the plan for my holiday doodle stockings. All right, I wanted to share a couple of acquisitions, and one of them is something that didn't quite make it for press time, so to speak, for the podcast that I filmed with Erica last week. And it's too bad because it really would have been timely. So I have mentioned on here before that I subscribe to what is called a yarn CSA. So if you have ever had a farm share or like a CSA from a local farm where you get fruits and vegetables and, you know, maybe meats or other types of products that, you know, come on a seasonal basis. This is the same idea, but for yarn. So Bloom Woolen Yarns in Western Massachusetts does this yarn CSA where 6 times a year they ship you yarn that is like seasonally appropriate. It's local yarn. And I signed up for, they give you some different options. I signed up for the option that has a half of it. It's like a half share, which is exactly what I did when I had a farm share. I would get like the half size box. So the half share is like 4 ounces of yarn, I believe. I will double check that. I think the full share is, yeah. The full share is a pound of yarn. So, sorry, that's a lie. I'm really good at math, I promise. So a half a pound of yarn is 8 ounces. So I get 8 ounces of yarn. The full size share gets 16 ounces of yarn, which is quite a lot. And this time, oh, and I also have a thing where I signed up for the option where I can 3 out of the 6 shipments, I can get them custom dyed. But I can also just get like the natural colored wool. So when Lisa reached out to me about whether I wanted the custom dye, I took a look at the yarn that I knew was going to be shipping, and I saw that there was a really beautiful, I think they call it rich cocoa, but it's like a chocolate brown natural wool. And I not only decided that I wanted to go with a natural color, but that I definitely wanted a sweater's quantity so that I could make a substantial project with it. So what I did is I supplemented my order, and I got 7 more skeins of what they call Meadow, and I will show you. It's still here in the box. This is the worsted weight yarn, and this is farm yarn, but look how beautiful. I will take out, I can like feel the lanolin in this. The description says, Meadow is a non-superwash fine wool blend that creates a bouncy fabric and a rich natural palette. It is from the Southeast New England fiber shed, and it is woolen spun in southern Vermont at Green Mountain Spinnery. It's 3-ply, worsted weight, and this says hand dyed in Ashfield, Massachusetts. If this were dyed, that's where it would have been dyed, but this is undyed, natural colored wool. And like I said, I now have a sweater's quantity of this and need to figure out what to do with it. So my top idea of what I would like to make with this yarn is a cherrywood pullover, and that is a sweater pattern from Amy Christopher's, who happens to also be a local designer, which I saw that pattern come out, I think it was right before Rhinebeck, and she did it in collaboration with Catskill Merino. Their yarns are just insanely soft and just luscious. I didn't unfortunately buy any this time around, but I would say next Rhinebeck I will be looking to make that purchase. But anyway, this is a really good candidate for that cherrywood pullover. I am not sure exactly when I'm going to make it, but when I'm looking for a project that's more of like a textured, so the cherrywood pullover, I will show you the picture. You have already seen it by now, but it has a beautiful textured pattern in the yoke, and the rest of it is just stockinette. So when I am ready and wanting a project like that, I will definitely be going for that. Look forward to talking more about that on a future podcast episode with Erica. All right, one last acquisition that I wanted to share, something I haven't even looked at yet. So some exciting news that I received last week is that there is a new local yarn store opening in Williamstown, Massachusetts, which is the town where I went to college. And it is also a town that is sort of in the general vicinity. It's in the Berkshires in Western Massachusetts. And it's about 45 to 50 minutes drive from our home in the Berkshires. And there are a couple of wonderful Williams alums who are teaming up to open this shop and really create a new community for the fiber arts. I mean, they've actually already been doing this through some of their other initiatives. Okay, my poor phone is really struggling, and I'm just hoping that I can get this video to completion. Anyway, I ordered the inaugural box from their new venture, which is called Gather. And this is sort of an advent. It's also like I think a knit along that is going to start in December. I haven't opened it, but I think I should open it soon because I think there might be some perishable items in here. And it didn't say like do not open till December 1st. So I have this little card. It says, thank you for taking this leap of faith and supporting the inaugural Gather offering. We are so excited to build this fiber community with you. Very cute. I love their logo. So cute. Okay. We have this adorable box and it's packaged like an advent. Let's see, what do we have? Like a little description. It's called the Light in the Dark box. And there's going to be a knit along for an accessory between December 1st and December 21st, which is the winter solstice. So it smells like lavender. This whole box smells so good. Little row counter. I actually don't have this notion. Very cool. From Twice Sheared Sheep. And there are some goodies in here, some cookies. These are from Sweet Sam Bakes. They're almond spritz cookies. They look super yummy. And there's a wintertide herbal infusion, winter moon. Maybe this is what I'm smelling. It's tea. Yeah, it's a tea. It has no lavender. It has a lot of other things, but no lavender. Yeah, this is not what I'm smelling, I don't think. And there's individually wrapped yarns, which I'm not going to reveal or unwrap. There's a little, oh, I see what this is. A matchbox and what I'm assuming is a candle inside here, which is from Wild Soul River. This is, I think, what I was smelling. It doesn't say what the scent is, but there's some loose stuff on top that is herbal in nature, I believe. It smells really good. It definitely smells like holidays, but not in an aggressive, I really don't like the like juniper smell or like a fir or pine. This has like a light pine smell, but there's also some spice and it's like got some warmth to it, like clove maybe. Anyway, it smells really good. This is definitely my kind of holiday candle. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little love and a little shout out to this new venture, which I am super excited about. Okay, I think I have to wrap this up. I have no memory left on my phone and it keeps stopping the video, so I apologize if this is very janky. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be on the lookout for our next episode. We're going to talk about color in a couple weeks. Probably beginning of December. Have a very happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate in the US. Thank you again for joining me. And like I said, if you are interested, please check out Erica's and my joint effort on using local yarn and knitting Rhinebeck sweaters over on the Knit Kind podcast and on my dedicated playlist on my own channel. And if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and like this episode. And I hope to see you in the next one.